Hi all, and a very, very happy National Inclusion Week to you all. My name is Tom Pritchard. I am the Employer Relationships Manager at Amazing Apprenticeships. For those of you who don't know us and our work, there'll be a quick introduction to both actually in just a moment. But we've been invited along today to record a session on cultural intelligence. So it's just a quick introductory session, but over the next 15-20 minutes maybe, we'll dig into what has become a bit of an industry buzzword, a term that is often used and seldom understood, I think. So we will dig a bit into what cultural intelligence means, what is cultural intelligence. We'll look at how cultural intelligence relates to diversity and inclusion in the workforce. We'll hear some quotes from apprentices about what cultural intelligence means to them, both in terms of diversity in recruitment and inclusion once they're in post. We'll look at employers and some of the challenges that they face around cultural intelligence. We'll look at whether it can be learnt. Spoiler alert, it can. And we'll dig into the Genie Program a bit. It's a unique program for apprenticeships and early careers professionals run by Amazing Apprenticeships with a cohort starting early next year. But we'll get into that a bit later on. So for anyone unfamiliar with Amazing Apprenticeships and our work, we're probably best known for our work with schools and FE colleges. So we work with around 4,500 schools and colleges nationwide. Those are institutions who are actively engaged with either the resources we create or the campaigns that we help facilitate. We work with over 1,000 employers. That's where the bulk of my work is. We work with around 200 of the sort of biggest, best known apprenticeship employers in the country, real household name organizations, but we also work with around 800 plus SMEs nationwide as well, recognizing of course that the challenges they face are very, very different often to the challenges faced by large employers. We work closely with policymakers, with third-party stakeholders. We work with apprentices themselves, so both current and former apprentices who are working for organizations. We work closely with training providers nationwide. We work really closely with influential voices for young people. So people approaching those sort of post-16, which route to take, what to do after school, decisions. We know that parents and carers and teachers particularly, hugely influential voices there. So we talk directly and often to both. We work internationally, so we work with international governments and global businesses to advise on apprenticeship strategy and to build apprenticeship programs. And increasingly, we've been doing more and more work over the last few years in this sort of EDI space. So it's a topic that we're so passionate about, and that because we exist at this unique meeting point of government and private business and schools and apprentices and training providers, and we sit right in the middle, we hear about these challenges day in, day out, time and time again from every possible angle. So, the same challenges as faced by apprentices and as faced by businesses and as faced by government. We believe firmly that there is a real appetite for positive change, improved access to opportunity, better ED&I in business, and we're passionate about helping to make that happen. Let's dive straight in. It's enough of that. Let's dive straight into cultural intelligence. So the first question is, what is cultural intelligence? So as I say, it's an oft used phrase, but one that we don't often take the time to dig into, really. For the Harvard Business Review, cultural intelligence is an outsider's seemingly natural ability to interpret someone's unfamiliar and ambiguous gestures the way that person's compatriots would. So it's a sense of familiarity, a sense of being comfortable with people from different cultural backgrounds, an ability to socialize and work with anyone as closely as their friends might. It's a bit wordy for me. It's a good definition, a bit wordy. this is perhaps a little clearer. So cultural intelligence, also known by the shorthand CQ, that's cultural quotient. So if you ever see CQ, it means the same thing. Cultural intelligence refers to the skill to relate to and work effectively in culturally diverse situations. I think that's a much better definition. It can apply to both organizational cultural intelligence, so a business's ability to operate effectively and profitably in a range of culturally diverse situations. Think of a global business with an office in America, in Hong Kong, in Egypt, a business that is able to be effective and profitable across geographies, culturally diverse geographies, could be said to be culturally intelligent. But I think also it relates to individuals, the ability for an individual to work effectively in culturally diverse situations and with culturally diverse colleagues in a culturally diverse and experience-rich workforce. This is just a bit more information on how cultural intelligence can relate to the individual. So, individuals with high cultural intelligence are people attuned to the different values, beliefs, and communication styles of people from different cultures. So, again, that idea of familiarity, of being comfortable talking to anyone, whatever their background. Um, so, cultural intelligence can help people relate to a broad range of people with empathy, with sensitivity, and with confidence. And we know that confidence piece is something that employers and employees alike sometimes struggle with when we start digging a little deeper, scratching the surface of what a diverse workforce can really mean. So to look a little more closely at how CQ or cultural intelligence can help diversity, how does it relate to diversity and inclusion directly? Cultural intelligence can help tackle bias in recruitment. So being comfortable with and aware of cultural difference and the strengths that can bring can help to offset unconscious bias in recruitment teams, and can also help to ensure improved retention of diverse talent. So we know that employers often concentrate, particularly around a diversity point, employers often prioritize getting people through the door. So recruitment activity, attraction, recruitment, hiring. The numbers are there, and people often think once the numbers are through the door, that's the finish line. We think that's actually the start line. It's much more to do with how you then keep those people on board, how you retain, train, and progress those people so that a diverse range of voices ends up in positions of leadership, and that affects the overall culture of a business in the medium to long term. So organizational CQ, organizational cultural intelligence has a role to play in promoting workforce diversity. Research, just worth mentioning here, we all know the strengths that a more diverse and more inclusive workforce brings to a company. But research has consistently demonstrated that diverse teams with high CQ outperform homogenous teams, so teams made up completely of one kind of person, in every area, including innovation, decision making, building trust, and leadership effectiveness. So, huge opportunities to push the envelope, to stay innovative, to stay ahead of the sector as a direct result of improved cultural intelligence and resultant improved diversity. Inclusion, obviously, a side of the same coin. So for me, at least, I always think of diversity in terms of recruitment, in terms of overall workforce makeup of mix. Inclusion, I think, is much more about a sense of belonging, a sense of welcomeness, a sense of feeling included in all senses of the word. So in 2019, the Academy of Management reported the top 3 factors that influence whether diverse staff feel included. Those were participation in decision making, information sharing, so how in the loop they feel, and informal networking. And unsurprisingly, teams with high CQ are better set up for multi-directional, inclusive, professional and personal relationships. So almost directly resulting from higher CQ, inclusion is improved. To skim through these very quickly, I'm aware of time, what apprentices are telling us. So we talk to a diverse mix of apprentices week in, week out. We have conversations with them about things that we are interested in and areas that we're working on. We asked them about cultural intelligence. Just 2 quotes from apprentices to share with you here. So his first anonymous apprentice said to us, lack of cultural intelligence can be a barrier, just like any other barrier to people like me accessing opportunities. A lot of the time this stuff is passive, not active. No one is trying to keep me out, but is anyone learning how to welcome me in? Such a high impact, amazing, eloquent statement for me. That really hit home. That's the idea that companies with less inclusive cultures, or who are prioritizing diversity and representation less, it's not always an active decision, it's a passive one. Amazing. This other apprentice said to me, you can definitely feel when there's a lack of cultural intelligence. If people are uncomfortable or can't connect with me because of my background, I can feel that. Listening and learning, that's how things get better. So it's a really hopeful message, actually, for me. So, as you know, this person's saying, as we're all aware, it's easy to tell if someone's uncomfortable with you. But she thinks that there's an opportunity to learn, and that by learning, CQ, cultural intelligence, follows on from listening and learning. We completely agree, and again, we'll get onto that more in just a moment. Can cultural intelligence be learnt? I gave the spoiler away at the top of the session. It absolutely can. As David Livermore, the author of Leading with Cultural Intelligence, says here, it can be taught, it can be learnt. Cultural intelligence begins with changing our impulse from why can't you see things like I do to help me see what I might be missing. Again, sort of that awareness of the huge strength that a diverse range of voices, a huge range of lived experience can bring to a team. Amazing, it can be learned. What employers are telling us. So we asked employers how they feel about cultural intelligence, how they feel more broadly about improving processes and approach and understanding around D&I. More generally, having a more representative workforce in all the ways that can be relevant. This is what they told us. They told us it's a complex and challenging area. They find it difficult. There's no news there. That they currently feel like they lack confidence, that these are often difficult, emotive issues to engage with, particularly after the last couple of years, from sort of George Floyd through the Black Lives Matter protests and the fallout of the pandemic, and the way that has impacted sort of diverse and disadvantaged talent more than anyone else. Confidence is a huge thing, the ability to feel like you can join the conversation with confidence and with sensitivity. Capacity also is an issue. So even where they are able to get this on the agenda with their team, with their decision makers, capacity to then implement change is very, very difficult. That's fine. But they tell us they are interested in inspiring and innovative approaches. They want to hear what other people are doing. They want to hear what has worked for other people. They want to hear of ways around what are often a common set of organisational or structural barriers to driving positive change around the D&I inclusivity agenda. And then most hearteningly, I think, like we touched on earlier, there is overwhelmingly a sense that it's time for change. There is a real appetite to drive positive change at employers of all sizes, and to take on this agenda and to make a real difference. What they told us they need to explore how that change is implemented and what that change looks like is a safe and supportive environment away from their employer. It's often very, very difficult conversations to have in-house because they're so sensitive. They want expertise. They want to hear expert voices, both in terms of lived experience, so first-person experience, and in terms of expert speakers, well-known sort of national and international speakers on these topics. And they want space to explore what works, a safe space, a judgment-free space to have these conversations without fear of any kind of ill feeling from colleagues, or worst case scenario, without fear of trial by media, or getting dragged, trolled on social media, which we have seen happen in the past. I'm sure all of us have seen examples of that. Our solution to all of those employer requirements we call the Genie Program. So to tell you a bit more about this very quickly again, the Genie Program is a year-long program designed to empower motivated, engaged apprenticeships and early careers professionals to immerse themselves in the many and various challenges faced by diverse and disadvantaged groups, to feel empowered by that learning to engage with these big, complex, emotive, spiky ideas with confidence and with sensitivity, to gain cultural intelligence and a deeper understanding of the breadth and depth of the D&I agenda. It can feel nebulous. Learning around the D&I agenda can feel structureless and difficult and challenging. We put structure around that across the course of a year. And then ultimately enabling apprenticeships and early careers professionals to make firm, quantifiable recommendations to their employer about how they can improve, how they attract and recruit diverse talent, and also, as I mentioned earlier, how they retain, train, progress that talent, ultimately get them into positions of influence and leadership, because we know amazing things happen when they are able to. So it's a unique training program. It's an amazing program that we are very, very excited to be delivering. Cohort 1 is already almost halfway through the program now. That group includes employers like the Open University, NHS, Co-op, Coca-Cola, AstraZeneca, and many more. And we are recruiting for the second cohort of the program, which will start in January next year, undertaking the program January 2022 to January 2023. So there are no formal criteria for who can be a delegate on the program. It's really just for any motivated, engaged, interested, inspired apprenticeships and early careers professional who wants to drive positive, measurable, quantifiable change around D&I and inclusivity at their employer. Improve cultural intelligence, improve representation, change things for the better. That's the Genie pitch. That is our introduction to cultural intelligence. You can find out more about the Genie Program at www.genieprogram.com. You can email me directly if you have any questions about anything you've heard in the session today. I'm aware it's a very quick session. We've barreled through some sort of difficult, sprawling concepts, and we've sort of rattled through them fairly quickly. So if you have questions, if you want to keep the conversation going, I'm always really happy to jump on a phone call, talk about how this relates to you and your work and your life. I'd love to hear from you. So my direct email address is tom@amazingapprenticeships.com. Do drop me a line. I'd love to speak to you. And thank you so much for watching the session today. Thanks all. Bye-bye now.